Welcome to our presentation today. We're live across the country of Canada, and very happy that Camille has let me host this event, but I'm looking forward to all the great insights from Camille. Camille, you and I, we were based in Canada, and we help people implement BIM technology, design technology. What's your any introduction you want to give?
Yeah, hi Joe, I hope all is well. You're in Vancouver. I'm currently in Montreal, but I work from Montreal and Toronto at the same time. We've been doing this for a while now. Personally, I've been doing this for over 11 years.
And thank you so much. My name is Joe, of course. We look forward to hearing from you. If you want to just type in the chat whether you can hear everything and we're doing okay, we're going to ask you to hold. Please type any question you have. We will do our best to get to every question, but we're going to address them at the end. So please feel free to engage. We want to hear what you have to say. Now, this is such an important topic. Draw your projects once, not twice. Off the bat, this seems cryptic. Who would draw their projects twice? Well, it happens. So I think for most designers today, they agree that there's almost like two deliverables. There's a set of 2D deliverables, drawings, construction documentation, and then there's 3D deliverables often. Not always, but usually there's a rendering, there's some kind of presentation done for the customer. Where the challenge comes in is that often these are on two different train tracks. And often when we start a project, we start and we have two different softwares that we might utilize. A typical one on the left side would be AutoCAD, and a typical one on the right side would be SketchUp. And here's what tends to happen. We start off, maybe we do a space plan in AutoCAD, we flip over to SketchUp, visualization. Oh, then we got to get some drawings out. So we flip back to our 2D track, and that might go on for a while, but then eventually, perhaps we need another visualization. We have to update our SketchUp model. The longer this goes on, the more pain or the more duplication there can be, to the point where the project can almost be drawn twice. Camille, do you see this? Do you see this occurring in the industry today?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's sometimes more than twice, because projects are never linear. There's a back and forth that happens with the client or with the contractor, and you have to go back a couple of steps, take a couple of steps backward to be able to update and come back. And that makes a lot for a lot of duplicate work.
Yes. Now, perhaps it wasn't intended to be this way, but this is what we often see. And the person has to ask the question, the fundamental question is, what's the cost of this? Obviously, this isn't free. The cost. Now, we talked to a lot of different companies. Some might be architectural, some might be interior designers, home builders. What do you find, Camille, in terms of the amount of duplicated effort that's occurring?
Well, when we talk to customers, and we do this analysis for them, the waste of time, depending on the nature of their projects, can go from 20% to sometimes 50%.
Yes, yeah, and this is just what we find. Now, sometimes when I show this slide a lot to people, and so sometimes people say to me, okay, well, Joe, I think we're 20%. I think we're 20%. So we're not bad. We're not 50. We're 20. But sometimes we have to stop and think about what that 20% means, right? So if 20%, take the number 20%, would you be okay getting 20% fewer jobs next year? Would that be okay? Or what if you got 20%, 20% paid 20% less on the jobs you did? Well, no. Most people always say that would impact my business. That would be a big issue. This 20% is actually more painful because it's a pure profit. And sometimes when I show this slide to people, I had one person say, it's not just about the money, he said. It's not just the money. He says, I feel it's my blood, sweat, and tears that are pouring out of that bucket. So this there is a cost to it, and you know, we need to ask the question: are we willing to pay that cost, or how did this even happen? Well, just quickly before we get going with our demo, at some point, what happened, possibly within your professional career since you started, is 3D became 3D, right? Where 3D at one point was a bonus, an additional. Perhaps you could charge extra. But now, what do we see? That was then. We see a lot of 3D as expected without any additional fees. And is this, you know, is this increasing? What's your observations from your part of the woods?
Yeah, Joe, I remember some 20 years ago, we just had to prepare one 3D render,
Yes.
and the project is sold. Today, they want a room by room, sometimes interactive 3D, so that they can look around and really grasp what their space is all about. But that's now. Eventually, it will be even more, because informational 3D, where you click on objects and understand what they're all about, is already here. And eventually, the clients will require something like that.
Right. And you commented earlier to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it causes, it's what it's doing is it's stressing our current workflows. If we have a 2D and a 3D track,
Exactly.
it's creating more and more stress as the years go by.
But it gives you a lot of positive, because the more the client understands his project in 3D, the more he'll be engaged, and the more he'll take his decisions faster. So as you mentioned, it's not a bad thing.
Yes. So we have to kind of rationalize how can we deal with this changing situation. And in our mind, you can draw your projects just once. You can do everything just once. That's our thesis behind this presentation. And Camille's gonna do a lovely job of showing us videos of every step of the way. But in order to do this, you kind of need a BIM software, but we also feel that you need something that's simple, flexible, and efficient. Simply because the software can do this doesn't mean it's not going to create its own issues as well. So we always have to make sure that how we use this technology is in a simple, flexible, and efficient way. We're going to get right into this presentation, because what we're going to do is we're going to take you through that single workflow where we're not skipping around from product to product. We're not duplicating something in one software and then redrawing in another. And this is our presentation. I hope it doesn't look complicated. Camille's done an excellent job of simplifying these topics for us. So we're just going to get going right into that part. We're going to just talk about getting started right off the bat in this simplified workflow with Archicad. So the key to finishing well is to start well, right? And with Archicad, you can start from day one, and you can import virtually any file format. Camille, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's very important to start within the same environment you'll be finishing with. This is key to being efficient, not to have to start on a software, then come back and restart in a different one. So let me show what a little bit how you do that. I'm going to pick up a PDF file. Here it is. Here's a preview of it, and drag and drop it into our software. And here it is. It's to scale. Not only that, I can get a vectorial drawing where I can snap into those endpoints and be able to trace my 3D through it.
Right. I mean, it was just a drag and drop. You exploded. We're going to transfer some of that data into 3D, but could you keep some of that data in 2D in your workflow? Could you just keep that PDF data in your project?
Of course, it's there. So you can have a lot of information stored as, like your documents are in PDF format, and, some of your specifications you can add to your project, and they are in PDF format. So yeah, you can keep anything within, within its original format and interacting with your model.
Nice. So now that we brought in that geometry, we exploded it like a PDF line goes to a PDF to an Archicad line. Let's talk about how we can transform it into 3D. Camille, do you want to take us through this?
Sure. So let's go back into Archicad if it's possible, and start tracing using what we call a wall tool. So we draw walls, same way as in AutoCAD we would draw lines, and using the wall tool, I just trace on top of my existing. I can automatically, I get the 3D. And I can automatically also generate some of those parametric elements like slabs. Let's continue. I set my partitions as existing partitions, and I continue my tracing of the project. And the process of doing the drawing is very similar to AutoCAD. So you draw, you can snap on endpoints, you can snap on midpoint or intersection point. I will show you later how to do the doors and windows. And while I've been drawing in 2D, you'll notice that the software automatically generated the 3D.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about simple, like you don't want a new process to replace these old two processes, but have the new process be really hard and bulky and time consuming. I mean, just watching you do that looked very easy to quickly transform that plan into a 3D.
Exactly.
So very nice.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to, you've kind of drawn that existing work, you've imported it. Now, in terms of changing it, maybe our demolition plan is something we need a long way down the road. But with Archicad, we can deal with that early. We don't need to wait to deal with what's existing. We can deal with it on day one. Can you talk us through this?
Of course, because I believe that demolition is part of the design. So what I need to do is maybe select just what I need to demolish, keep the rest, and say these are to be demolished. And once I do, they disappear from this view, which is new construction, but they are still there. They are still in a dedicated place called demolition. It's a demolition view, and automatically it also generated a demolition plan.
Right. So, I mean, this is remarkable if you think about it, because you're just designing, you want those walls out of your way right now. But because the intelligence of that single click, like that one click, you're now preserving these elements later, and it's created your demolition plan for you automatically.
Yeah.
Like this plan was created automatically. It didn't exist before you started that video. So
yeah, I just selected the partitions that I'd like to demolish. I could have split one of them in two and kept a portion and removed the other.
Right. So in essence, this is even a little bit better than not wasting time. In some ways, you're skipping steps. You're skipping ahead. There's things that you don't even have to do at all when you use a real intuitive software such as this. Okay, thanks for that demo. That was very nice. So when it comes to starting your design, maybe many floor plans are started in 2D, but you could also design in 3D. The point of the matter is it doesn't matter where you start in Archicad, because you only draw it once. So you want to talk us through that?
Sure. I drew the existing in 2D, but let's see if we can do some new design in 3D. So let me start I'm still drawing partitions, but these are new construction. And the way that I'm drawing pretty much resembles how I used to work back in the day with AutoCAD. So it's the same methodology. CAD is CAD, no matter what the software that you're using. So I like, for example, I can pick up these two walls and mirror a copy to the other side, and then pick up one of them and stretch it all the way to the intersecting element on the other side. Let's do that again. I pick up one of the partitions, mirror by snapping the middle of my wall, and all of a sudden, I created my rooms. But while I was modeling in 3D, the 2D got generated.
Yeah, the wow moment here is not the 3D. That was very impressive, and perhaps it would almost be good to watch that video again. In some ways, get how highly intuitive some of those commands were. There's palettes, there's little commands that allowed you to very visual interface with Archicad. So that was a very impressive demonstration of modeling in 3D. But the wow moment is the 2D, because the 2D is now done, right? So as impressive as the 3D demonstration was, it's even more impressive that now we have a 2D floor plan that's kind of ready for annotation. So sorry if I'm getting too excited, everyone, but it is pretty cool stuff. That was a great demo. That was one of my favorites. So great job on that one. Now, doors and windows, perhaps we come from a SketchUp workflow. We have to model these. We don't have as many options, but people get these things done. In Archicad, doors and windows are smart objects in the sense that they connect to the walls and they're very easy to adjust in all kinds of manners. Can you step us through that?
Of course, Joe. So we have a dedicated tool for doors and another one for windows. So I'm gonna pick up the door that I'd like to use, and I can set it up to a really predefined distance from my wall. Then I mirror it. You can notice that I do too many mirrors, but that's kind of like my way of doing things. Let's do the same thing with windows and mirror a copy to the other side. And now that I have this wall already with the doors and the windows, I just can mirror it to the other side. I will also select a door and a window and mirror them into the third room. And while I worked in 2D, here is the automatically generated 3D.
So we're able to place those doors and windows, very easy to configure them, and very easy to have them display properly. So when it comes to furniture is a big deal in the interior design space, of course. And Archicad comes with a large library. This is a very important part of the equation. It comes from a large library of highly customized objects that we can access. So what I'm going to do is, can you show us that?
Yeah. So this is the internal out-of-the-box library of Archicad, and I just typed cabinet to be able to pick up the office cabinet, but this is parametric, so I can change its dimensions. I can change its nature. It used to be drawers, now it's just doors, and then probably also change its material because I would like to have it made out of wood, not metal, and we place it inside of our project. Again, I'm gonna do the mirroring, which you see me do quite often. I pick up two of them and then come back and then do it again. And then I need to put in some work desks, workstations. I'm gonna choose the one that I would like to do and also change its parameters. For example, I can have some extensions to those stations, whatever we would like to have. Maybe I'd like to have it rounded, but also I can define what type of chair, what type of legs, and what type of chest of drawers that comes with it, even the knobs if you want to. And once I'm ready, I can place it in the model to the exact location that I would like to have it in. I'm going to do the same thing with one of those rooms that you see that we generated earlier. I drag and put in 3 cabinets at the desk. Again, making sure that it's in the proper location. I mean, if you want to just design it at the beginning, you can just put it haphazardly. But if you really would like to have it at the right location without any issues, you would do it this way. Let's continue this office with some, visitors' chairs and table. This is a coffee table, and then pick up the chair, some chairs. I love this chair, so that's what I'm doing. I'm putting it in. And this is how you do to put all your furniture. We're not going to go with all of them, but this is how you get your furniture layout. Thanks, Joe.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Now on the furniture, did all this furniture come out of the box with Archicad on this plan that you're using?
Yes, within the plan that you're seeing right now, all of them are out of the box, except for the conference table that I downloaded from a site. It's called bimobjects.com, and because I liked it, so I brought it in, and it's quite easy to bring in the objects this way.
Okay, excellent. So very impressive. I mean, lots of furniture, lots of pre-built content, easy to change. This is important for getting started quickly. Let's talk about the ceiling plan here, Camille. When it comes to the ceiling plan, typically if you come from an AutoCAD background, sometimes you like almost save the floor plan as a different thing for the ceiling plan. Not always, sometimes you can use layers to coordinate the two. But both of those are kind of awkward. It's super easy in Archicad to overlay ceiling information from wall information, is it not?
Yes, we're at the topic of draw once, so why to draw again for the ceiling? What I do usually, I pick up the slab and copy paste it, and then change the nature of this new pasted slab into a ceiling. I just need to do the offset. If you guys work with AutoCAD, you would know, it's just an offset, and automatically the ceiling has been generated. It took me like less than a minute to do that. We are interior designers, so we don't like just plain ceilings in such a big space. So let's have fun with it a little bit. Let's change part of it by just defining what this part is into acoustic tiles. And all of a sudden, it's acoustic tiles. I could have changed also the height of it, to make it a little bit more animated. I could have put some louvers if I wanted to. Let's do also the lighting. I just drag and drop them like I did for the objects. I can have them at the exact place where I want them, and then maybe do arrays to kind of prepare all the reflected ceiling. And here it is. Here are two of them. And if I continue my work, I get a complete reflected ceiling that if you zoom in, you'd notice it's a reflected ceiling. It's not like the regular plan. The symbol of the lighting are dedicated for the reflected ceiling, and the windows and doors have been removed, if you've noticed. So it's as if you've done it from scratch.
Right, and it's amazing. Now, of course, we might be able to accomplish this in other software, but it is amazing that you're not duplicating anything here. You're just adding new information and displaying it differently.
Exactly.
So it's just, you never kind of step off that track. You're just always building a little bit more and then changing how it's shown.
Exactly.
So that's great. Now, you mentioned something about SketchUp. I'm sure we have some SketchUp fans. Now, we have to say SketchUp is amazing software. It does what it does very well. So for sure, don't mind if there's SketchUp fans. We can drag SketchUp models right into Archicad. When we drag SketchUp into Archicad, we bring it into this intelligent environment. Now that we can do complete documentations, we can do complete working sets of drawings. That's the advantage of this kind of workflow, is to bring the SketchUp in to Archicad. So can you step us through that now that I've got the video?
Joe. So here's this is an object that I brought in from 3dwarehouse.com. This is where it's kind of like a place that has all sorts, thousands of SketchUp objects. Like I did with the PDF, I drag and drop it and place it where I would like to have it. And takes a couple of seconds to generate an Archicad object that I can drag into its place. And you can see it's 2D and 3D at the same time.
Well, what's remarkable about that is that you can't tell the difference between which object was native from Archicad and which object was imported. Like I can't tell the difference where I sit. Now a follow-up question. So we've seen how Archicad has an extensive library, and we've seen how, okay, we can just drag SketchUp in so that it's in a kind of more robust environment. Are we able to create these objects from scratch? Are we able to create custom content in Archicad? Of course,
if you are a designer that loves to create their own work, then yes, there is a dedicated place. We're not showing it in this demonstration because we already have a lot of information, but there's a dedicated object designer within Archicad that would enable you to prepare these things.
Very nice. All right. So now we know that like some interior designers are kitchen planners. Some are in other words, they might do some work in residential, and kitchens are very important there. But I would, from my observation, kitchens are actually important in commercial spaces as well. These are environments that people want to make very inviting for their staff as they try to lure them back, So Archicad has out-of-the-box cabinets that you can kind of use like little Lego blocks to build your kitchen. And it really simplifies kitchen design. Do you want to kind of take us through that?
Yeah, of course. So here's a kitchen that we prepared before. The same way that we've done the furniture, you can place those cabinets, and the software recognizes them as kitchen cabinets. And we have two options over here. We have a contemporary one and a classical one, and you can see at the same time the 3D and the plan, and in elevation. You can see it in different modes. Now let's pick up one of those cabinets and fiddle around with it. I can change its dimensions if I wanted to, or transform those drawers into doors. So just pick up the door, and there it is. How about not single door, but two doors? Here it is. Now I see I have too many knobs. I can just deactivate some of them and maybe change the knob if I wanted to, but I won't. I can fiddle around with the front panel. I can have it as framed or as plain, change its material if I wanted to. Everything is possible. It's very, very flexible, Joe. It is, I'm changing it to glass. And let's look at the result at the end. Maybe, yeah, you're right. The black is not very nice. Let's go back to white. And say, okay. And it would change to, see, the drawers has changed into doors in 2D and in 3D. All right.
Yeah, that's very nice to have that built in, and with many options. Now, just a question, just a follow-up question. Once, because it feels like there's a lot of options there, I got to be honest. So once you've done all this work, is there some place you can kind of save that geometry so that you can easily reuse it?
Of course, you don't need to do it every time you do a project. Usually you would have, some, I would say, design favorites. You have your way of doing a kitchen, maybe two or three of them of doing your doors and your windows. And all these can be saved through a place called favorites. And that would make them just one click away from being utilized.
Excellent. Okay. So hopefully we've delighted a few kitchen designers amongst us. Now, question for the audience. Who here would be sad if they never drew an interior elevation again? Like perhaps many of us do enjoy drawing interior elevations, but what if we never had to draw one again? Would that if that upsets us, maybe Archicad's not the right solution for us, right? Because in Archicad, we can model our floor, we can add this data, and then we can very easily just let the system skip a step and create that geometry for us. Okay. So Camille, do you want to walk us through this? This is quite exciting, I think.
There's a dedicated tool for interior elevations. What I do usually is I pick up the perimeter of a room and then create those interior elevations. I need to be able to define where you cut that elevation from. And you can see to your right, the software has generated 4 separate elevations, and I'm going to open just one of them. And here it is.
Wow. So
material and all, you know, like it's already rendered with the drop shadow and everything. This is the contemporary version of my kitchen, but within a click, I can switch to the classical version. So it's quite easy to kind of entertain with your clients the different options.
Right. And so in this case, no need for the Photoshop to touch up. Of course, people can always take things further if they want, but these are amazing just coming out of the box. They're beautiful.
Exactly.
So great job there. And this geometry didn't exist before you created that elevation. So the system created this for you. It's a view of the model. It's a view of the design, and updates automatically. So that's very, very exciting. Now, perhaps there are people that do like drawing the interior elevations. I can understand that, but who enjoys schedules? Schedules is the place happiness goes to die, right? Door schedules, window schedules, they're so necessary, but tedious. And then increasingly, as you mentioned, people want more information. So as a value add, maybe we're a design build. Maybe we want quantities. Maybe we want to take quantities for cost estimating, right? This is tedious work that Archicad can kind of just do for us. Do you want to talk us through that?
Sure. So anything in Archicad, any element, you can schedule. Here's the door schedule. And if there's any additional information that you need, you can add it within the schedule. There's a window schedule. You can add also information. Here's a room by room finish schedule, a furniture schedule with the quantities, you know, lighting schedule. Remember those lights that I added earlier? Area breakdown, room by room. Area quantities breakdown by elements, whether it's linear or surface. Finishes, the area of these finishes, you can have it either by element or as a total. So you can do broad schedules, but you can also go really granular and define each element. What are the quantities that go with it? And you can take all this into Excel, save it as an Excel file, and continue working from there. Or maybe bring in some data from Excel into your Archicad file to kind of fluff up those schedules.
Very nice. So this is just tedious work that Archicad will do for us. So this is skipping steps. This is not, you know, we're getting the software to kind of do work for us.
Exactly.
Now, excellent. Now, when it comes to views, there's countless options for views, elevations. So we do have to make a note that it's like, it does reduce the need for Photoshop and InDesign, for example. Like Archicad can act as your InDesign production space. You're going to show some beautiful examples.
Yeah.
But the why about this here's the why. The why is simply interior designers tell stories with their drawings, and they tell stories to different audiences. And as they tell stories to different audiences, they want to configure those stories. They tweak those stories. I think they do a wonderful job. I just hats off. I think interior designers are amazing. They tell the story, but they customize it for their audience. Has been my observation. Archicad just works very nicely with that way of thinking, allowing us to tell the story of the design to multiple audiences. Can you explain this to us, Camille?
Of course, while we have been drawing, we have been generating views. This is a presentation view where every space is colored and then the walls are blackened. And this is another presentation view where we can see the elements with drop shadows. This is a enlarged plan with the finishes and the markups. Remember the demolition plan and the reflected ceiling plan with all the graphics of a reflected ceiling. How about interior elevations? We have a lobby, and these are the interior elevations of the lobby. Restrooms, we can get automatically all the elevations of the restroom, and we can have a slew of interior views, colored or monochrome. Maybe at the beginning of the project, you wouldn't want to have the material being showed. How about annotated axonometry? And those annotations are automatic. In other terms, you click and it gets generated because the objects already have all those details. Once we've done this, we can place those views into documents, and we can mix, and like we can have a schedule and a 3D and a plan within the same worksheet. And you can see over here, I'm overlapping the axonometry over the plan. So you have that InDesign ability. Here's another example, the restrooms with the 3D, the enlarged plan, and the elevations all combined together. So your drawings start telling the story of the project. Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could watch that in slow motion a couple times over and benefit each time, because it's with one software, like what you're saying, without the need for photo, like you didn't do any Photoshop. Is that correct? Yeah. And you did all these layouts inside Archicad. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So staying on that train track, we're able to kind of tell, like Archicad is a great communication tool. Sometimes we talk about these as design tools, we talk about them as drafting tools, whatever. But really they're communication tools. And Archicad is very, very highly communicative as a tool. So these examples are very good for how does the designer communicate the design, tell their story to their audience. That was very nice. Sorry, I went on a little too much there, but that was fantastic. So the last one we're going to cover is BIMX. Now, perhaps people don't know what BIMX is, but it's really a game changer in terms of, so, we've created this 2D information, this 3D information. Of course, it's all integrated into one Archicad environment, but now we can take that whole environment and simplify it so that it can be sent to someone on their phone. Camille, do you want to tell us a little more about BIMX?
Yes, BIMX is kind of like the cherry on the pie that you can get. Next slide, Joe.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can see a designer preparing this. She picked up the model from Archicad, and you can save it as a BIMX file. And here's the model, but you can also see those little hyperlinks that brings you to the documents themselves, like over here, the plan. You can save views for your presentation so that you can go and you can interact also between the 2D and the 3D. Like over here, you can see how the section is overlapping on the 3D model. And all those views, you can save them for your presentation. As you see over here, she's doing some saving. And this is how she would be able to present it to her client. So her client gets a better understanding of the project through this overlapping of the 2D and the 3D. BIMX is also available for mobile phones. So through that, you can have the presentation happening on a larger screen with, if you just brought over to the meeting room your phone, it's just enough.
Very nice. So, I mean, it's a fantastic overview. It's really a game changer. I'm interested in where you see it used a lot. Where I see it used a lot is early in the design phase, they share a model out to get, maybe it's a white model. They get feedback from the customer early on in the process, right? For design intent. Are we on the same page, right? And then later it has a wow factor. It can sell a project. How do you see it often used with your customers, Camille?
There's other ways of using it also. First, the ability to superimpose the plan and the 3D enables the client to understand the plan much better. Clients sometimes don't understand the 2D plan. By doing that, they get a better understanding of their project. It also gets used a lot during construction. Our clients love to go to the site and have the BIMX in their pocket. And when the contractor is asking for, I'm not understanding what to do here.
Yes.
You have already the thing in your pocket. You come out and you say, here it is. That's what you need to be doing in 3D.
Right. Very insightful comment. In essence, it takes that whole 2D, 3D model and puts it on their phone.
Exactly.
They can walk around. Very, very useful information. Thanks for sharing those insights for us. So, flipping back, let's pull back. This is kind of what we showed today, and Camille did such a great job. I apologize for the problems with the videos, but he did such a great job creating those videos, taking us through them. But what you're going to notice is that we never left the track. We never went somewhere else to do something and then had to kind of pull back to what we're trying to accomplish. Doesn't mean that this is easy, right? It's not like Archicad, making our CAD projects are necessarily easy. They take work, but it's one thing leads to another, adds to another, to a final result. It's a much better workflow. Do you agree with that, Camille?
Exactly. And even if you get sidetracked by certain things that you didn't anticipate, like the client coming back and saying, I changed my mind, or maybe you're working with existing, and when you're breaking, there's something that's happening that you wouldn't have forethought, it remains linear and smooth. Yes.
Yeah. So still work, but much more manageable in terms of the workflow.
Exactly.
Now this is just just to try to make everyone no one ever said I really enjoy doing things twice. So I think people are doing it. They're doing a heroic job of kind of meeting their customers' needs using AutoCAD and SketchUp, which are great on their own, but kind of don't work well together in a seamless process. They're doing a great job of heroically pulling it off, but no one really loves to draw their projects twice, right? Something no one ever said. Now, what are users saying? We're almost done here. It's good to find out what users say about a software. So you can find out a lot by going to these, go to the G2 site. I just went there. I picked up the first quote. This was the first quote. So I just went there. I needed a quote. This is the one I picked up. Archicad, the perfect design and production tool. Okay. So feel free to check out those reviews. You will, I think it's very useful for providing a balanced view of the software by people that actually use it. So we feel free to check that out. We just wanted to give you some next steps, just in case, depending on your interest. We appreciate you spending this time with us. But if you want to join us for a coffee, you know, maybe on the west side with me, maybe on the east side with Camille, or both of us, that's fine. We're happy to buy the coffee for you. All right, so we appreciate everyone hanging in. We had a great turnout. We probably will follow up with a little bit of an email on terms of some of the links we shared. But thanks so much for joining us, and Camille, you did a fantastic job on those presentations.
Thank you, Joe, for this. You were great too.